and I'm glad to be here. And I prepared a little introduction for our guest, so if you allow me, I'm going to read it now. So first of all, as parents, we often focus on our children's academic success, their grades, their progress, their achievements. But we all know that true education goes far beyond their education and academics. At the heart of every thriving child is an emotional strength, resilience, and the ability to understand and manage their feelings. In today's world, our children are growing up in a fast-changing environment, facing pressures and influences that we did not experience in the same way. That is why conversations around emotional intelligence and mental health awareness are not optional, they are essential. The earlier we learn how to nurture resilience, confidence, and emotional balance, the better equipped our children will be to navigate challenges and flourish in all areas of life. This evening, we are truly fortunate to have with us Ms. Agni Mariakaki. She's a psychologist and social researcher with a master's degree from the University of Lancaster, a certified PTSD therapist, an international NLP trainer, and a best-selling author. She was also a finalist for the 2022 Public Book Awards. Her expertise and experience bring both professional depth and practical insight to this important topic. Tonight, this is an opportunity for us to listen, to have a conversation, to learn from each other. So please welcome our guest again, Ms. Agni Mariakaki.
So I'm especially delighted to be with you tonight. And if you're a parent, I am especially proud of you because at this time you could be anywhere else, especially on your couch, in front of your TV, getting some much needed rest. And instead, you are here. So I hope you just hug yourself tonight. And please know that you are a very precious and good parent. And I am also especially honored to be here in the presence of your teaching staff, your teachers, and I am always so much in awe of teachers and especially humbled by what they do every day in the classroom, handling a Generation A it is now called, and these are such brilliant, gifted, and especially difficult kids. And so I'm in awe of what you achieve every day. I love this topic. I'm very excited. I hope to restrain myself and keep myself within time limits, but I also hope to transfer to you my enthusiasm about the importance of this topic. And what comes next? I am focusing on 6 very practical steps that I would like to share with you with regards to how we build emotional intelligence and resilience in our kids. And before I do that, I would like to share a most important statistic that comes straight from 1918, which means 100 years ago. And this is a scientist called Charles Mann, and he worked at the Carnegie Institute of Technology. And the research question that he put down was, why do some engineers thrive, succeed, progress, while others with the exact same resources and the exact same technical characteristics stay behind and even fail in their careers? So this is what he came up after he did an extended piece of research, which has remained a classic and has been repeated. He actually said 85% of one's career is defined by soft skills, not by degrees, technical skills, or cognitive abilities. I find this statistic so positive, optimistic, and encouraging, actually, even though this generation and this season in our history is especially tough when it comes to building up resilience and emotional intelligence in our children. Soft skills include a list of things, and for example, including empathy, including leadership, including communication. But at the heart of it all is indeed emotional intelligence and resilience. So I've prepared a few slides for you, for those of you who are especially visual, and I will define emotional intelligence as a child's ability to read their inner weather. Actually, you presented a very good definition of this kind of intelligence in your introduction. So to know when anger blows inside, when sadness reigns, or when joy shines. This is a skill which is absolutely critical in how people become able to relate, to love, to bond, to pursue goals, to reach out for the stars, to dream and actually make their dream a reality. Emotional intelligence is not about not getting angry, being always patient. It's not about your child being a model child, not at all. Actually, it's very much the case that an emotionally intelligent child expresses the full gamut of negative emotions, from anger to sadness to competitiveness to desperation to fear to even wrath and acting out, and everything which we determine as a child's toughest moments. And if your child is like mine, my second child, my son Alexander, has been diagnosed since very early with quite a tough case of ADHD and dyslexia, and actually, it's been quite a rough time for me as a mom to accompany this child into adulthood. He's now 31 years old. And if you do have a child that goes into tantrums and cries hard and stomps their feet and everything else, then I really want to encourage you to know that you're doing something right. I know that you need to keep doing something right so that you channel all these emotions into the ability to control their own brilliance so that it becomes an effective life, which is what's most important. So teaching the child to recognize and regulate their emotion is our task. And it's all about what we will be doing tonight. And there's some practical homework for you to take home as well. So stay tuned, stay here, please don't leave. And resilience is the ability of a child to bend without breaking. Actually, when my children were very young, this is the one thing I've heard 1 gazillion times. Mom, it's too difficult. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And about 100 times, they wanted to give up on their homework every single day. Do any of you share this experience? Do any of you? Yeah, I see a few hands. Okay, so I'm not alone. And yes, Mom, it's just too tough. I remember my daughter, for example, she just gave up on learning how to bike, for example, because it was just too hard to keep her balance on the saddle. So she said, oh, it's okay. I can live my life without learning bicycling, for example. But that was just one of many cases that my own kids wanted to give up each single time. Each time their efforts were thwarted, and each time they failed. Actually, My son, I often tell him, you are the biggest specialist and expert I ever know, because actually you managed to never learn to spell and write Greek correctly. So it takes a lot of effort through 12 years of schooling never to learn that the word Allah, but needs 2 L's. So there you go. Okay. And what's very exciting for me is that resilience is not something you get born with. I absolutely guarantee you that this is what the research says. You're not born resilient. You just learn on the go, which is the magic of the way we're made. We're made for toughness, and we are constructed and born in such a way that tough times and difficulties and strains make us better, make us improve us and optimize, so that our upgrades happen naturally all the time, more and more and more. And I'm sure if I were to ask you to raise your hand, if you consider that what you know now as a mother or as a teacher versus when you started is way ahead than what you ever imagined possible for yourself, especially in the area of patience. Right? Yeah, I can grin alongside you indeed. So, emotional intelligence is understanding what I feel, and resilience is carrying on despite what I feel. And I hope tonight, through those 6 steps, that we will be able to tackle how to do this more and more effectively with our children. So, I would like to take some time to discuss the challenges that we face now, year 2026, and it's going to only get tougher and better at the same time. So we are Generation A, which is the children that you are teaching or that you are raising, are suffering from overprotection in the physical world. Very important. It's not like when I was being brought up on the island of Crete, which is my hometown, Chania, and where we could play outside and we could go to school on our own, walk to school on our own, which is beyond any parent's imagination today that they would let their child walk to school on their own. And we underprotect our children in the digital world. So I will take now this, and I'll come a little bit closer to you to discuss something which I consider especially important for us all to understand. I would like to describe what I call algorithmic natives, our children who are today between 6 and 18 years old. Imagine this, that by the year that they are, by their first year, they're exposed to a tablet. By year 2, they are exposed to educational games by very cautious and very careful parents. And by age 3, parents are especially proud of their children because they operate the tablet better than they do in their 33rd year. By 3, they use the tablet better than the 33-year-old parent. What does that mean? We were discussing this over lunch today. I want you to understand why. Because our guiding principle and our compass has to be compassion for the children rather than criticism about how much better we were in their case, in their age, in our own context. And unless we understand and look at them with compassion, whatever practices and whatever methods we use, there's going to be no result. I absolutely guarantee you, because we need to bond from here with our kids. And when kids grow and they thrive when they feel safe. And they will feel safe in our acceptance and compassion. And this is nothing that you can tell them. It is only something that they can live and feel through the way that you approach them. So, by age 3, the nervous system wiring of their brain, their thinking, their cognition, is shaped totally by the features and characteristics of digital life. And I mean, first of all, everything is multisensory. There is sound, there is rich background and 3D colors, everything is moving, and there is speed, one scene after the other, one background after the other, one hero after the other. Not only is it multisensory and fast, it is also interactive. The child interacts with the machine and gets rewarded every 3 seconds. I guarantee to you, those rewards are delivered according to science. Every 3 seconds, there's a sound, there is a little gift, there is an extra life to win, there is some nice golden coins to earn and win if you interact. So it is especially rewarding, and there's always a little bit of music and some ta-da-da-da always there to captivate and keep the child glued. Imagine that child with a short attention span that grows up to be 7 years old, landing to 1st grade with that entertainment system in their pocket or at home. I don't mean the mobile phone. This comes later for most kids. But at home, the tablet is always there. It's an endless, non-tired, never tired, entertaining system. And the child lands to the 1st grade desk. And all of a sudden, gets something on their hand that does not move, does not react. Can you imagine the culture shock? Can you understand the huge culture shock? And this child, who has been trained for 5 years into speed, all of a sudden has to slow down, focus on the blackboard, and it says, apple. And he has to look at the apple and then look down and keep the memory and make the memory letters. A mind that has never become trained to focus because all the digital environment the child is exposed to is moving all the time. The blackboard does not move. That's one thing. All of this, if you want to read on this, you will find in 2 important books. One is by Jonathan Haidt, The Anxiety Generation. It's been printed in Greek also, if one prefers that. But also please read Anna Lempke's, a Harvard scientist. Her book is called The Dopamine Nation. It's a very good read. Beyond that, where it relates to our issues, actually, the digital world at home becomes the best and most effective medication for children when they feel any sad, angry, fearful emotion. Because when they hit the tablet, that emotion immediately gets to the background. It does not disappear. It goes to the storeroom in the soul. Goes to the storeroom. It does not disappear. It gets stored, unprocessed, raw. which means later on, and especially you teachers, I'm sure you experienced this, especially in the courtyard where people spend their recess. It will only take a spark for this stored emotion to create catastrophe. Bad words, bad mouthing, bullying, aggressiveness. Of course, because people do not stay with negative emotions. They channel them through the entertainment system and then store them unprocessed. So this is a very important reality that we faced today. Let me go ahead discussing the immune system of the soul, which I consider something especially important. Yes, immunity builds by, physical immunity, builds by being exposed to germs. In reality, we parents do not allow our children to actually stay with the germs, metaphorically speaking, of everyday life. There's so many of them. Frustrations are part of daily life, and we, just because we ourselves are so burdened by all our desires to be good at work and good at home and good as housekeepers and good as parents, we just hasten to resolve our parents' exposure to frustration and not even allow them to experience those. So I'll share with you this experience of mine very quickly. So there was this lady once, she said, I want you to help me with my 9-year-old son. So she comes to my office, and I invite them into my office, and she comes in, she holds the 9-year-old by the hand, and then this is what she does. You sit there. And she starts to take off the child's coat so that the child sits. The child sits like this. He's like a puppet. And she takes off his coat and he waits for her to give the order, now you sit, and shows him the appropriate chair. And then the child goes and sits. And then she starts complaining in front of him. He never does anything on his own. He's always, I can't wake him up in the morning. He never is on time. I have to do his homework with him all the time, and he never prepares his bag and his books the day before, and I have to do everything for him. Goodness me, I wish I could film her and show her the film, and then maybe she might understand. But this is such a huge reality. We just cannot bear to see our children's tears. We just can't bear to see them sad. And yet, this is part of the immunity of their soul. I'll skip this. Now, this is what's happening online at the time when moms show their dissatisfaction with their children. This is what's happening online. I call this hyper-comparison. This is a reality we think, but my child does not have a mobile phone. He does not, but perhaps when they go for play dates, they get their hand on a tablet or on a phone, and here's what they see. And this is, I think, Kim Kardashian. And this is how she showed up in the Met Gala a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago. And I want you to see what kind of model, impossible model of a body she presents. And then perfection fatigue through their exposure to TikTok and Instagram. It's not about beauty. Somebody is creating smarter dances on TikTok. Somebody is creating smarter pranks on TikTok. Somebody talks more wildly on TikTok, somebody does it better than them. So there is this amazing perfection fatigue. And the hyper goal setting fear of missing out. And this is not just us. We have fear of missing out. Is my child learning a second language? Is he a good student? I remember asking my daughter all the time, how much did you get on in this math test? And she says, for example, 8 out of 10. So how did your friend sitting next to you, how much did she get? And she says, how would I know? And I said, come on, it's impossible. How is it possible that you don't know what your friend got? Didn't you ask her? And she says, are you crazy? Why would I ask her how much she got? So you see, my child was much healthier than me until my upbringing took root with her, so she changed and became worse because of me, because of my questions, which I find amazing. And this is a big word that I found in this Jonathan Haidt's book, entertainmentification. This is the total death of emotional intelligence and resilience. Once you start to expect that life has to be fun, and you get what I call fun entitlement. I am entitled to having a good time. I am entitled to feel okay. Actually, there's all this big, huge self-help business related to all this, right? So once I get to feel that I am entitled to feeling good, having fun, living great moments, having fantastic experiences, then life becomes bland. Because our children have unlearned their natural ability of enjoying the very smallest of things. Would you agree with that? They lose the natural ability to love and enjoy the simple things. And when that happens, the ability to go back to inner balance becomes really difficult and tough for them. So, what do I mean entertainmentification? I mean that the book has to have fancy pictures. Any game, any book, any activity, any has to actually be indulging, to be hedonic in order to win them over, which means that they lose their ability of resilience, which means I tolerate not being entertained. I tolerate not having fun. And actually, some of the best and most important thing one may achieve in life would preclude spending endless hours doing the boring stuff. So I'll rush a little bit, and here I will show you this statue which stands in front of the stock market. So in 1989, this bull, 3 tons of bronze, was put in front of the stock market to express its strength and dynamism. It is called, the statue is called, the Charging Bull. 2017, a Danish artist, sculptress called Kristen Visbal creates this sculpture, and it shows up in front of the Raging Bull in 2017. Hammock. Chaos was created. And I want to take you on a journey studying this girl whose name is Fearless Girl in New York, in front of the stock market. And I would like us to feel our heart being moved deeply by what we see here. And I would like us to really deeply desire this for our children. The fearless girl. So here, look at her face. Look at her calm demeanor. The strength of the way she looks ahead. And every single day, young people, children, will parade in front of this amazing statue and will actually assume her stature, her position, rehearsing kind of the state of fearlessness. And this just moves me incredibly because she stands there with this amazing confidence, her hands in her middle, looking calmly and ahead. And for me, she exemplifies what's best about resilience. She exemplifies the best when it comes to intimidating the storm and riding the waves and finding your purpose and your place in this magical universe that we inhabit. And I love each single kid that sits and stands right next to her. And as you see this picture, I want you to know that each of you is a fearless girl and is a fearless boy. And this is our task. And maybe you're not a parent. Is there somebody here who's not a parent? Maybe you're a teacher, but you're not a parent. Excellent. She's a very young girl too, and very pretty. And I want to tell you that there's no person who is an adult who is not a parent. If you do have somebody in your life that you care for, you are a parent. It can be a cat, or it can be a niece, or it can be a grandmother. Never mind what. Parenting is inherent, and it's part of identity, no matter whether we've given birth to a child or not. And I want you all to, when you go home, I want you to actually reach out and Google the fearless girl and study this posture with your child. Explore this posture with your class. Have them stand this way to explore somatically with their own bodily sensations to understand what fearlessness is like and discuss this. And it's very important that you start with yourself here. So this is my first step. I've got 6, I believe. This is the first one. Learn to regulate yourself, your own emotions. Learn to understand your own emotions, because then you become the best teacher without doing anything. Without doing anything at all. So I learned this from my father. He was a constructor, building constructor, and there was a huge crisis in the 70s, and prices rose up incredibly. So this meant, because he was a free professional, this meant that he went almost bankrupt because he had different contracts for buildings, different contracts, and all of a sudden costs rose so much that he almost went bankrupt. And I remember that there was a day when he came back home and he could hardly speak. I really felt terror in my heart because I'd never seen my father so fearful before. I was truly shaken inside. And what he did amazed me, and it's not something I never forgot. He actually cried, and when a child sees a parent crying, especially in the 70s, when men never cry, that was really shaking for me. I was shocked. I truly felt unsafe. And he got us into our best room in the house, the sitting room, and he said, "It's such a bad day today. I lost so much today." And he was crying real tears that I was able to see. I thought only children cried until then. And then he said, "Let's all of us kneel." So he had us, all of us, kneel and pray. And he cried. He said, "God, please have mercy on me. I don't know what you believe in or who you believe in, and it does not matter. I hope you believe in life. I hope you believe in yourself." My father believed in God. So he had us kneel and pray. And he said, "Dear God, we are all in your hands." And peace came in our home. And this was a huge lesson, way beyond any words that he ever taught me, way beyond. And it was a shattering moment when I understood terror, and an amazing moment when I understood grace, the grace of my dad, the way he handled his huge burden with us all. So regulate our own emotions. And we don't need perfect children. We need children who know what to do when things are not perfect. And that means that we know who we are when things are not perfect and what to do when things are not perfect. So 3 things here. We name. This is all science. I will not bother you with the names of the scientists, but it's been well documented and researched that when you name the feeling, it loses its grip. So when the child comes home and throws a huge tantrum, you can say, "Stop doing that." And you actually have no effect except to make the child feel crazy. Is it helpful to make your child feel crazy? No, it's not helpful. You can say, "I understand you are angry now, or you're worried now, or you're tired now. I understand." So name the emotion so they make sense of who they are and what they feel, because that's safety. And children thrive when they feel safe. Let me look at the time. Okay, I have 20 minutes roughly. So next one is we validate. Every emotion is acceptable. Behaviors are regulated, but not emotions. You can tell them you will hurt yourself by doing this. So you can stop that behavior, but you cannot tell them, "Stop being angry." There's no button for stopping anger. You can only discuss it or go through it together. And we model, we show our own emotions. Today, I feel sad. I felt sad at work because blah, blah, blah. And you don't need to make it a happy end story. No. It was really tough. And I felt there was such injustice there in this situation. And I went home, and as I was coming home to see you all, the thing that really made the sun shine again was knowing that I will come home to you. And I still feel so angry with that situation. And that validates what children very often feel, and feel crazy about holding those emotions. Number 2, we become the weather person of their emotions. We can tell them, we can steer them somehow. What do you think your feelings are telling you now? What do you think your feelings are telling you? But of course, you cannot ask this question unless you guide the child to understand what their feelings mean. For example, she comes home and says, "Maria said we're not friends anymore." Has this happened to you? To all of us. There's always been this moment when the child comes home and have lost a friend. I know I would be so sad. It's happened to me when I was in your age. I lost my good friend Nikki. Oh, how sad is that? I understand. It's very hurtful when a girl comes to you and says, no, we will not play together anymore. It's very sad, isn't it? And what does this tell you now? And she says, I don't know. What can this tell me? You're saying stupid things. That's the reaction. And then you say, could this be telling you perhaps that there's many other people all around? Yes, but I want Maria. Okay. Is there something that Maria likes that can get you back to speaking terms again? And you start this discussion and you explore the options then with her. So number 3, that's the tough one. Teach boredom. Teach them to be bored. There's no emotional intelligence and no resilience without boredom. Why? Because if each time you're frustrated or despondent, desperate, sad, angry, fearful, you turn to Netflix and fill up your head with other stuff so that the painful thoughts get erased. You're teaching your child to do the same. And once they learn not to hold their negative emotions, then they stop being able to process situations, to figure out things, and to pursue goals. How come? Why this is the case? Because unless you learn to stay in an uncomfortable state, there's no way you can tolerate the boring stuff that precedes achievement. Okay? And unless you can stay doing nothing exciting, you will not be able to have an imagination that takes you places and helps you reach your dreams. Because research has established absolutely clearly that the most creative space is when you do nothing. But when you name that boredom, Mama, varieme, I'm bored. Have you heard this as mothers? Have you heard this? I'm so bored, find me something. Give me my tablet. Give me the tablet, I'm bored. This is called fun entitlement. So, what do you do then? You tell your child, oh, that's great. Are you bored? Yeah, I'm so bored. Fantastic. Because, of course you're bored. Identify with them. Of course you're bored. And that's good. That's special. Only people who get bored are people who do things. Teach boredom. There's a method about it, and it's when she says, but I have nothing to do now, it's so bad. Oh, that's how people get creative. Think up something. Accept the tablet, accept the mobile phone, think up something. You can ask me also, if you wish, but even just, sitting in your chair can be good enough to hone your creativity. So, number 4, let them struggle and not drown. Do not overprotect them. Do not hasten to have them avoid the tough blocks on the road. Look what this study, again, Jonathan Haidt from The Anxious Generation, he's an amazing scientist, 52 girls aged 12 to 17 from 2010 to 2015 have increased cases of depression by 52%. Increase in cases of depression in girls by 52%. And I understand this. If Kim Kardashian is all you see, this tiny waist, of course you get depressed. If it's all about Taylor Swift, Of course you get depressed. If everybody else on Instagram is so amazingly photoshopped perfect, of course you get depressed. And tripling of self-harm in the same period. This is what I was talking about, that unprocessed emotions become self-harming in order to be acted out and expressed. And it is the number one generation in parental time, money, and attention. So there's something to learn out of this. Turn difficulties into narratives worth telling. And this is what I suggest: keep a failure diary. And I especially practiced this with my son when he was coming back, all through the years of elementary school, and his έκθεση, composition or essay writing, where, oh my goodness, no diction, είναι τα σημεία στίξης, diction, we call it. Diction, no full stops anywhere, no commas anywhere, no capital letters in the beginning of sentences, nothing at all. Typical dyslexic writing. And of course, the lady marked it with blue pen, not with red pen, and she thought this was very progressive. But the pages were marked with gazillions of marks. And I had to tell him, you know, probably you're the only one who has so many blue markings. How amazing. And I had to tell him, let's count those and make a diary, because the more you have, it means the more you notice your mistakes and the better you learn. So I had to really completely reframe this approach so that he would learn to not step back when failing so much and so often, especially in language. And this is very creative on the part of a parent, because we are achievement hungry for our children. Number 6, mistakes and failures, frame them as training. So I will finish now, because time is over, and I would love to leave a few moments for questions, if you have any. So I would love to share with you this story, the story of Lina Deshvar. And I will close with this story, which I consider very important. And the reason is that we all learn through stories. And I am sure that each one of us can be that kind of story for our child. And here is Lina. She's a girl from the Ukraine. I saw her photograph on Facebook once, and I looked at that bright face and was captivated. And then, only afterwards, after I was captivated by that bright face, I understood and figured that she only has 3 fingers in her hand. And she has 2 hands, 6 fingers. And I was so intrigued by her that I tried to find out her story, and everything was in Ukrainian. And fortunately, of course, we now have translation through AI, so I translated everything I found about her, and what emerged was such a story, and I urge you to have this kind of quality time with your child, or with the children in class, where you share something interesting that you found out, that you read, that you encountered somewhere on social media, that you share. And because children do not like advice, they loathe advice, they hate advice, and they especially hate parental preaching. They have those flaps here, and when you start to preach, you know, my child, unless you become a better student, unless you learn to behave, unless you blah, blah, blah. And so when you start to talk like that, those flaps come down. And they look at you. with this bland, they look at you, but nothing penetrates. Unless it is a story. And I'll share the story of Lina Deshvar from the Ukraine. So she was born not just with 6 fingers only, but she was born with a knee that starts from the hip. Wow. I mean, what's this? What's this? A knee, her knee, starts from the hip. So, when she was born, her parents' mother said at the hospital, I don't want this child. This child stays here. I don't know what you do with it. I'm not taking this child. This beast is the word that she used. I'm not taking her home. You keep her. She ended up in an orphanage, of course. Nobody would ever adopt this beast, ever. Nobody would adopt her. So, until she became 18 years old, she lived in that orphanage. Eventually, she got prosthetic legs, as you can see here. And she started, even from a very young age, to really thrive despite all of those amazing, curious, strange disabilities that she was born with. So, of course, skateboarding was easy. What was most amazing is that by 18, she was a national ping pong player for Ukraine with those 2 feet and with those 2 hands. She became an accountant, started working as an accountant, and once she became independent, her life's mission became to be there for children born with disability. What I especially, and you can see here, Down's syndrome children, where she volunteers on a daily basis. This is a picture of her, 2024. You can see her, the shortest one. She started a one-legged women's soccer team. What about that? Is that an achievement? And when I look at this picture, I am so moved. I am so moved. And I'm considering all the weaknesses I have as a person, all those things that I dislike about myself, all my own quote-unquote disabilities. And I take them in when I look at this picture. And at this one, I take those disabilities and weaknesses and ugly things about me, I take them in and I close my eyes and consider, I'm a person of transformation. Actually, it is our legacy, the ability of the phoenix to rise up from the ashes. It's our legacy, and it's our task to learn how, starting with us, teach them how. So this is number 3 for Lina Deshvar. This is her own doodle. So instead of feeling ashamed of her 3 fingers, she has made those 3 fingers her flag. And she created this doodle where those 3 fingers become her pride points. This moves me deeply. And therefore, I have this homework for you, for yourself. So when you go home, just take an A4 sheet and put your hand like this and trace, make a tracing of your hand. You have 5 fingers and not 3. And then on each of your fingers, write down with clear lovely letters, no matter how beautiful the writing is or is not, just write down your values, not your abilities, not your brilliance, not your cleverness, not your diplomas and your qualifications and your money, your values. What are your 5 values? On this one hand, what are your 5 values? Is it goodness? Is it generosity? Is it giving? Is it patience? Is it joy? Is it imagination? Is it playfulness? What are your values? Write them down there. And then trace your other hand and be bold in writing on each finger, what am I appreciated for? Because sometimes we don't spend a single bit of time to understand that others do appreciate us, and we only focus on where we lack. So write down 5 things where you do know you are appreciated. Perhaps it's your cooking. Perhaps it's the way you style your hair. No matter what, you're appreciated. And just paste it somewhere where you can look at it and enjoy who you are, and teach your child to do likewise. Because that's the way towards emotional intelligence and resilience. So I'll put a full stop here, and I think I did overstep my time a little bit. So if you do have any questions, sharings, opinions.
At what age would you say a teenager or a young adult or whoever can still pursue meaningful change? You know, if we've seen them go through their teen years and it's been difficult for them and they haven't adjusted very well to it, at what point do those things get kind of set in stone for them?
Okay, so maybe I hear 2 questions here. At what age does this whole thing becomes installed, kind of? And at what age they start to perhaps change and evolve? Perhaps there's 2 questions there. I would say, actually, that our earliest years are the most critical. And the reason being that, let's say, up to 6 years, our library of emotions, of thoughts, of self-beliefs is empty. And the things that come in first into that library, they create the strongest imprints. So the experiences that we have early on, just because the library of experiences is empty, the imprints are deeper and long-lasting. So I would say until year 7, perhaps, there are the deepest imprints there. Let's say from 7 to 12 or so, there is a period where children start to become self-conscious, where they start to reflect on their experiences. But it's a time when they do the self-reflection without knowing what to do with it, how to process so that it amounts to something positive for their life. So, for example, little Gina said that I'm ugly. Am I so ugly? So they start to self-reflect. They go to the mirror, they say, of course I'm ugly, or maybe I'm not so ugly. But they do not reach further ahead to say, who cares what Gina said, right? Because this is an adult's reaction. I don't care. Who's Gina? Why should I care what Gina says, if I'm ugly or not? Right? So during that period, they learn to self-reflect. They acquire what we call self-talk, inner talk, which is a fantastic tool for self-regulation, but they do not self-regulate it yet. After 12 years, this is what magical thing is happening. They discover their power and their strength. I can have my own opinion. I can be a person who is setting themselves apart from the rest of the family. I can be my own person. And then, this is, after 12, this is the critical period where they make, unconsciously of course, some of the biggest choices of their life. Because either they get a lot of stimulation from all over, which is both positive and negative, but they focus only on the negative. Who dislikes me? Who thinks I'm ugly? Who thinks I'm short? Who thinks I'm not a good game player? Who thinks I'm a bad student? They only focus, this is called selective attention, so they only collect the negative feedback. So they get the negative feedback. So here are 3 reactions in the making. Either they withdraw, if you remember the story of Yakumakis, who was bullied in Greece, who was very badly bullied when he was a university student and eventually committed suicide. This is the extreme, of course. So they withdraw, they become loners, they have very few friends, there's some select friends, if any friends, and they battle inside. I'm not scared of these children, I don't fear for them. They usually kind of find their way through turmoil, indeed, but they do find their way. So there's another kind of reaction, fight or flight. So we talked about flight, the ones who withdraw. And very often also, teenagers who withdraw, they will not raise their hand in the classroom. They will be silent in the classroom. When they go home, they smash the door and stay in the room forever. They always wear those earphones and listen to what they listen, and they don't listen to you, of course. So this is withdrawal. The other one is aggression. And this is the most painful, because very often, if they're not good achievers, their aggression is disturbing everyone. So they become the joker, the clown in the classroom, or the rebel in the classroom. So they experience their strength and power by going against. And these are the tougher cases, because during that important period, they do not learn how to find their power other than aggression. So they grow up to be the narcissists, eventually, who make other people's life very tough because they have been rewarded with attention for their bad behaviors. They don't need to be rewarded by good attention. Any attention will do. Any attention will reward them. So these are the aggressors. And then you have a smaller minority, children who will react by creating. So they will learn chess, they will become good athletes, they will paint. Many girls will turn to, styling and hair and good tasteful dressing and following fashion. So they express and find their strength through whatever interest they develop. And they are the most hopeful ones. But these are the 3 stages. And research now shows that adolescence goes up to year 26 almost. I think this is wrong. I think science is wrong to consider irresponsibility as adolescence rather than as overprotective parenting. I'm a scientist myself, and I'm a research scientist at that, even now, and yet I do admit that if my grandmother were to hear, you're only an adolescent, you're 26, come on. So therefore, we do have a task there to teach that responsibility by being that responsibility. I hope I answered. Thank you for great question.
So I'm very mindfully aware that my daughter and I are very different characters. So I try to kind of respect that. A very quick example was, I'm very, structured and, we have to check your spelling words because your test's tomorrow. And she went, oh, I don't really want to. And I said, well, I understand that, but, it's tomorrow, so we need to check them. So, what if you get them wrong? She goes, well, that's okay. And I said, wouldn't you mind if, you got them wrong? And she said, actually, no, Mummy, you would mind, I wouldn't. And I said, you know what? Fair enough. That's okay. So you choose your battles. The one thing I'm kind of sticking on, though, is the resilience. Is that I do anyway. We try to make our kids' lives as easy as we possibly can these days. Nothing makes it too difficult. Nothing to make them sad. Nothing. The one thing I think that's going to carry through, however, is the quitting part. Like she's very independent and resilient, and she's very, good in a lot of areas. But I still have a big issue with anything that she doesn't immediately get right or immediately get done. Oh, I can't do it, it's too hard. And she just leaves it. And it's one thing I do want to push back on, because I think it's going to carry through to a lot of things. How do I actually respond to, I can't do this?
Okay, I'll give you several options. This is a question I get all the time. I'll give you several options, and it's a method. It's not one thing. So,
it doesn't have to be something important that she's doing.
I'll get your example, and I will use your example. So, imagine that a child's heart is like a nest. Not like a nest. Kalathaki, how do we say? A basket. Yes, a basket. A child's heart is like a basket. And very often you will need to put thorns in the basket, chuknides. I don't know the English name. Thorns, let's call them thorns, stingy things. You need to put them inside the basket. It's like you need to do your homework. You need to go for a shower. Teenagers don't shower. You just need to go for a shower, or you need to collect your clothes and put them in the washing machine. That's not debatable. It's not a question, will you please? No, you do it, right? So let's call those stingy things thorns. For the basket to tolerate the thorns, you will have to have put daisies inside in advance. So that means that you need to schedule first to create the frame, to create the environment. So you need to schedule time where you have some personal time with your daughter, let's say 2 times a month, where you go out and have hamburgers, the two of you, where you discuss what she's interested in, her singers. No serious talk. Why? This is called priming, or in Greek, marinaro. It's a marinade of the relationship. It's a marinade for communication. So you talk about Taylor Swift, and you talk about fashion, and you talk about makeup, and I understand probably she's a teenager, right? 7. Oh, she's 7? Oh, goodness. Okay, what is she interested in? Whatever she's interested in. Okay. Just talk about dolls and Barbies, whatever she's interested in. The rest of the time, you need to be a bitch. Why? Why? Because it's early. It's early. And if she understands that you are scared of her, you're done. When she's 16, she will leave the home, she will live with somebody who knows who, and decide that university is not trendy. So she will not go to college because it's not trendy and it's tiring. And she says, pizza delivery, how nice. So, now is the time. Now is the time. So learn to look at her in the eye, but you cannot do it unless you bonded from here, and unless she knows for sure that you're on her side. So You just look at her in the eyes and tell her, you know what? I'm open to your telling me that I'm a very bad mom. I'm open to that. Please tell me I'm a very bad mom. You know what I will answer? Let's have this discussion when you're 28. Okay, do you get this? And then she says, but I don't want to correct the spelling. It's boring. I don't want. And you just look at her in the eye and tell her, no, you will do it right now. And be firm and adamant. She needs to understand that some things are not debatable. Like when later on she has a debt in the bank, she cannot debate, please forgive me, I did not mean to borrow 10,000 euro. No, some things are not debatable. Now, 7 years old. And when she tells you, I still don't want to correct the spellings, you know what? Tell her this, always tell a story. Tell her, Taylor Swift? Maybe she loves her. Taylor Swift is a big hero of kids. Tell her, do you know how many boring exercises she has done? How many nights she has remained sleepless training her voice? How many times she has spent doing all the boring lessons, the working out, the fitness, the gym, the connections, going here and there and everywhere. You know what? Going it the easy way, I will not let you. I will teach you how to go against the tide. Kodra sto revma, against the tide. I will teach you. You're a bad mom. Of course. Answer, of course. Of course I'm a bad mom, because I love you. That's what makes me a bad mom. Thank you for the compliment. This is called pattern interrupt, by the way. Because she thinks she will scare you by calling you mom because you're a softie. Okay, so this is what I have to say.
Anybody else? Somebody had, yes.
We opened up a big discussion, friend.
How do you find, so if you tend to be more on the disciplinary side?
I'm not on the disciplinary, yeah. I'm on the, actually, I don't believe in discipline. I believe in consequences. It's two different things. I hate punishments. I hate discipline. Even the word discipline makes me cringe, totally. But consequences is what life is made of. And if you deliver consequences with compassion, with acceptance, with respect, with total love and respect, it's gonna work. If you are the big one, I know better than you, you'll do what I say, you're destroying yourself and her. I hope this is clear. It's not discipline, it's explaining.
Yeah.
It's explaining with confidence. Because the child grows by feeling safe. And when you stand your ground and explain, like I just explained, I just explained within the context of her world. Who do you admire? Enrique Iglesias. Okay. How hard has he worked? How hard, but you were not there, it was not filmed. And you need to know that you are on the path of Enrique Iglesias yourself. So create this aspiration. Create those images that the child is not exposed to by anyone else except by you. Create those dreams. Give them dreams. And all the rest of the time, bond, respect. Go on their level and have the fun that they kind of like. Because this is the only way that when you put the stinger inside the basket, it does not sting. Thank you for this. Helps me clarify. Thank you very much.
I think, how do you, so I'm with the kids part-time in the day, so I find it hard to see them, to create those moments, excuse me.
How old are the kids? Your kids?
Oh, no, just, yes.
Yeah, but how old is...
They're around 6 till 12.
Right.
Age range.
Yeah.
I apologize for...
You only prove how you care and how good a teacher you are, of course. Of course. We just respect you more for this. We respect you more, and let's applaud those who went. Those who went, thank you. Thank you very much. We applauded the lady who went home, not you. And our heart goes out. I wish my children had a teacher like you. Okay, I'll give you those moments. I'll tell you because I think I understand. This is only going to get more difficult as time goes by. Your children will always remain 6, 7, 8, 9, right?
Yes.
Always. They will always be 7, 8, 9, 10. But next year, 7, 8, 9, 10 will be worse and tougher. And 2030, you're very young. You'll still be a teacher by 2030. You're very young. So by 2030, they will be impossible. Why? Because of the digital divide. Our school systems throughout the world, are every year are more backward, not because the educational system moves backward, but because the children move forward in a different way that creates a generation gap that we've never seen before. So it's going to get worse. So this is what I recommend. So let's say you have 20 kids in your care. So create a daily plan. I would call it a training in philotimo, which is an untranslatable Greek word. So this is what you do. As children come into the classroom, choose one child every single day, catch them in the corridor or right before they go to the room, and make body contact, like touch them here. Can you please serve as my as my student? So she's going into the classroom, and you just firmly touch her here, because that tells her she's accepted and she's safe. Don't move too close, because that scares them, of course. Whenever a tall grown-up, comes too close, they're scared. But teach them here, and then whisper, "I'm so happy you're in my classroom. I'm just so happy I have you this year." And give them a good piece of acceptance. And this is step 1. Thank you. So, this is another kind of priming for each single student. And make sure that within the first week of the year, you have talked to each child, and you made them understand that there's a special place for you in my classroom. And this is laying the ground. And then there will be those who undo the whole class. So you put them as priority, because there's going to always be a virus child in the classroom. Always. An Andoni, a John, a George will always be there. So make sure one of those difficult days to catch them again in the corridor. So the first minutes of your recess are educational for you. Catch them and say, I just so much believe in you, and you can do so much better. Or explain, I count on you to have a good class today. I count on you to have a good class today.
Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap this up. I think that we all agree this was an amazing session.
Thank you so much for staying.
Okay, we have another one coming up on the 18th of March. Digital well-being in social media. And this is done by Dr. Filimon Batimaroudis, who is an exceptional teacher, and he teaches at he's a professor at the Department of Social and Political Science at the University of Cyprus. He has a PhD from the University of Austin, Texas. Served as professor at both the University of the Aegean and Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and visiting professor at Northern Michigan University and Wheaton College. Research interests include media theory and its application in culture and politics. I think that if you come, you're going to be very well rewarded. He's an exceptional speaker and an exceptional person. So, thank you for coming. And we expect to see you again in March 18. Thank you very much and have a good night.